Hello, it's Maddie Azar with Spectrum Art Creations for Graphic 45. Today, we will follow Alice down the rabbit hole to create this fantastic stage tunnel collapsible card with lots of layers, yet folds completely flat to fit into an A6 size envelope, and it can go directly through the mail sorter. For today's project, we will be using Alice's Tea Party from Graphic 45, a beautiful collection with amazing colors, all kinds of florals and tea sets, and of course all of our beloved characters from the Alice in Wonderland storybooks. Supplies we'll need for today's project will include, of course, our paper line. Now you can see that it comes in an 8x8 size, a 12x12 size. There's also a 12x12 pattern and solids pad, as well as a die cut pack and these lovely journaling cards. We'll also need a paper trimmer, adhesive, scissors, ruler and pencil, a 1-inch punch or larger, washi tape, and a craft knife. Now some optional materials would include a scoreboard, a punch or a die with at least a 3-inch opening, a die cutting machine, a scoreboard, and an A6 envelope for mailing, and if desired, a tab punch. In step 1, we are going to gather our pages. We'll start with the 8x8 Brilliant page, which has got blue and white saucers, followed by the Enchanting page, which is plaid, and then finally from the 8x8, the Fantasy page, which has got all kinds of great borders and elements. From the 12x12 backgrounds, we'll be using our blue and white checkered 12x12 page. In step 2, we are going to be doing all of our cutting. Starting with our Brilliant page, we are going to cut a piece that is going to be 4 1/4 tall by 5 1/2 wide. This is going to become our back piece. Next, we will grab at the Enchanting page and we're going to be cutting it 4 1/4 inches tall by 5 1/2 inches wide. You might want to grab some stickies and a pen at this point and actually start labeling the pieces as we cut them. As you saw, I'm going to be referring to them as back or front or curtains or other names as we proceed. This is going to be making the process of putting it together much easier. From the Fantasy page, we're going to cut the strip that's towards the upper half of the page. We're going to cut it to about 1 inch tall by 4 1/2 inches wide. This is going to give us our stage. Next, we're going to work on our 12x12 checkered page. We're going to cut 2 panels for our curtains. They're going to be 4 1/8 tall by 5 1/2 wide. We'll need 2 of those. We'll also need to cut out 2 curtain brackets. Those 2 pieces are going to measure 3/4 of an inch tall by 5 1/2 inches wide. For the curtain stoppers, we're going to need 2 pieces that are 3/4 of an inch tall by 3 1/2 inches wide. Our next cut is going to be a 2 by 5 inch piece. This is going to be for our tabs. Our last 4 pieces are from our scraps and they measure 1/4 of an inch by 3 inches. These are for our stage stoppers, not to be confused with the curtain stoppers. So stage stoppers, curtain stoppers. Again, why it's a good idea to label your pieces. So again, starting from our left, we have the back, the front, our stage piece, followed by the curtains. Next come the curtain brackets. There's 2 pieces for that. Then the curtain stoppers, the piece for our tabs, and last, our stage stoppers. In step 3, we are going to be scoring our curtains. So grab both curtain pieces, I'm going to show you the easy way of doing this. There are two ways, but I'm going to show you the easy way, which is to fold in half your curtains. You can also use the scoreboard to do this. If you want to do that, you can score at 2 3/4 and at 1 3/8. But the easy way is simply to fold them in half and then burnish them down. And then we're going to take one of those halves and we're going to fold it in half again. And we're going to burnish that down. We're going to do that for both sides. You will notice that when you're done, you're going to have two candy canes, or maybe the letter J if you flip them the other way. For step 4, we're going to have our panels facing this way. We're going to flatten them out. We're going to make sure that the slimmer panels are facing each other on the inside and that the larger panels are facing the outside. With a pencil and a ruler, we are going to grab that center panel and we're going to find the halfway point for that panel, which is 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to make a little mark about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. So we want to put our ruler towards the bottom and mark at the 3/4 of an inch. Next, we're going to grab our stage piece. This is going to help us to figure out the width that we're going to need to cut our slits. So we're going to find that pencil marking that we've done, and we're going to do a pencil mark at the top of our stage and at the bottom of our stage. And that's going to give us the height that we'll need to cut with our craft knife. Using our craft knife, we're going to cut a slit onto our center panel. Once this is done, we will test it by using our stage to ensure that it can slide in and out without any issues. If we need to make it a little taller, then we can always go ahead and do that as well. With that done, we're going to layer both of our center panels right on top of each other, as you see here. So once again, just to kind of show you, it is a center panel on top of the other center panel. And if you flip it over, it might be a little bit easier to see. Once again, center panel on top of center panel, and then we're going to grab our pencil and we're going to trace around the existing slit that we've already cut. This is going to give us a perfectly positioned slit for the next curtain. And then we will just repeat the same process for the second curtain. In step 5, we're going to be grabbing the 2x5 piece of paper and working on our tabs. In order to do this, we're going to grab our paper and fold it in half. Now, again, you can use a scoreboard and simply score it at a 1/2 inch mark. But in my case, I'm going to do this the easy way and simply fold it in half and burnish it down. using our tab punch, we're going to grab the paper and insert the open side towards the bottom and the closed center towards the top. And then we're going to leave a little sliver, maybe about 1/8 of an inch from the top, and we're going to punch that. That is going to give us a double-sided tab. We're going to need 2 of those. Step 6 is optional. It is distressing. Now, we don't need to distress all of the pieces, so I'm going to let you know exactly what we need to distress. We need to distress the back piece in both the front and the back. We will also need to distress our front, but that only needs to be distressed on the plaid side. Now the curtains do need to be distressed all over, front and back, including the creases, especially in the front, as well as the slits in the front. In the back, you at least want to make sure that you go around the outer edges. The stage, we only need to worry about distressing the front side of it. And then, of course, our tabs. And those as well, we only need to worry about distressing the front, including the crease lines. Step 7 is another totally optional step. I like to reinforce my front. So I took one of the scrap pieces that I still had left from the 12 by 12, and I'm simply going to reinforce that by adhering that other piece to the back. In step 8, we're going to continue to work with our front piece. We're going to find our center by marking at 2 3/4 and at 2 1/8. This is going to give us our center point. You'll notice that mine is going to be off-centered anyway, and that's because I want a wider edge on the bottom than I do at the top. I've done this because I am going to be adding stuff to the bottom, and you can also add an additional sentiment this way. Now, does it have to be a circle? Absolutely not. Look through your supplies. You might have a rectangle, you might have a punch that's got a cool shape. So just use what you have in your stash to be able to make an opening large enough. You do want it to be a nice size, so you probably want to go with something around 3 inches in diameter. Using our ruler and pencil, we're going to also mark the center points on both the left and the right hand side of our card. This is going to be at the 2 1/8 mark. Using a 1-inch punch, we are going to punch notches on both the left and the right side, using again our little mark that we just did to know where our center is. And now that all of our die cutting and punching is done, we are going to distress the inner circle as well as those side notches, both left and right. For step 9, we're going to need the back piece, the 2 curtains, and the stage. We're going to be working on our layout next. What we're going to do is we're going to attach our curtains temporarily to our back piece by using some washi tape, or maybe you've got painter's tape or masking tape, just something that obviously is not going to damage our paper. You do want to make sure that they're nicely lined up. And then finally, we're going to just insert our stage through both the left and the right slits temporarily. From our die cut pack, we're going to pull the following 7 pieces: the Queen of Hearts, the I'm Late pocket watch, You Are My Cup of Tea banner, the White Rabbit, the oval deco frame, the Alice with a banner, and the teapot. And then we will proceed to distress those pieces. I'm also going to show them to you up close once they are all distressed. To decorate our back piece, we're going to bring the oval fancy frame and we're going to adhere it, centering it on that back panel piece in between the 2 curtains. But what we want to do is we want to move it up towards the top edge rather than centering it smack in the middle, because remember, we're not going to see a lot of the bottom part of this frame due to the fact that our stage is going to be in front of it. Using our pencil and ruler, we are going to mark the center of our stage, which is at 2 1/4 inch. We're going to bring our Alice with the banner back, and we're going to make sure that she is centered. Now, we're only going to add adhesive to her legs. The banner needs to ride right above that stage. So again, just using a little bit of adhesive on her legs, we're going to find that pencil mark and center her perfectly. It is very important that she is centered because otherwise our card is not going to close. If you find that the ribbon that is on her hand next to the letter T is actually catching, you can actually trim that ribbon off. One of the things that I do like to do is while my glue is still wet, I like to actually try my pieces to make sure that everything is functioning properly. And I will do this with the other images as well. Just along every step, I like to make sure that there are no mechanical issues. Now that we know that it is functioning perfect, we are going to bring back the pocket watch. I like to make sure that that word late is actually showing through. We're going to glue the pocket watch to the back of the stage behind Alice. And again, I am positioning that pocket watch so that the word late shows through and we still have a little bit of the watch showing on both sides. And once again, before that adhesive fully dries, we are going to try our mechanism to make sure that it is all functioning smoothly. With the back done and the stage set, we're going to bring our front and we're going to bring the You Are My Cup of Tea banner. We are going to line those roses over to the one side, and to make sure that we can see some of that in between the 2 top banners, the You Are and then My Cup of Tea, we want to see some of that front frame. The Queen is next. We are going to adhere her only from the waist down, so only the bottom half. And we're going to be looking for two things specifically. Number one, that our shoes are actually on the floor, meaning the bottom edge of our front. And then also that we are not covering the notch, which I kind of did there. So I had to move her over a little bit. It is perfectly okay if just a little bit is covering the notch. It actually gives it character, but you don't want to impede, again, the mechanism and cover the entire tab once we adhere our tab to the back piece. And now it's time to pour a nice hot cup of tea. We're going to be doing that by adhering our teapot to the top right-hand side corner. Now remember, we had only glued our queen from the waist down, and this is why, because we need to slide that teapot between or behind her and make sure that we angle that spout directly over the cup of tea. And now it is time for the white rabbit to join the tea party. We are going to be adhering him to the left-hand side of our card. Once again, making sure that his feet are touching the bottom edge of our front panel. A little bit of his little scroll parchment that he's holding there, the announcement is going to stick out, which is totally adorable. And once again, we are keeping an eye on that notch, making sure that we are not covering that notch on the left-hand side as well. And now it's time to finally glue down our queen. With all of our pieces in place, we can glue the top half of the queen. Now we want to add a little bit more depth to our card. To do that, I am going to bring back the leftover piece from the enchanting page, and I'm going to cut out a couple of these flowers. You could cut out more if you like. Of course, you also have choices. We have lots of ephemera die cuts left as well, and so you could kind of go through those and see if there are other pieces that you'd rather use instead for embellishment. Now also, don't forget that I told you I was leaving a wider trim or wider border around the bottom of the circle for a reason. We can also add all of our sentiments. We can add a message down there. We have lots of ephemera and banners with all kinds of fun quotes, as well as little pictures and clocks and all kinds of great things that we can still use. But as I was saying, in order to create yet another layer of dimension, I am going to be gluing the flowers behind the front panel. In step 10, we are going to be adhering our curtains. So we are going to bring our back panel back and removing the temporary washi from the curtain panels. Now do not throw away that washi because we're going to be using it here again in just a second. Now using those recycled washi pieces, we are going to grab both of our curtains and we're going to butt them up so that they're touching. Using our washi pieces, we're going to hold them down for the next step. This is what the front and the back will look like. We want to add adhesive to the two side panels on the left and right that do not have the slits on them. We don't want to overload with glue as we do not want glue actually oozing out from the sides. So just make sure you do get plenty of glue, but don't get too close to those edges. And now we want to line up our curtains with our back panel, making sure that it's nice and centered. Remember, we are using liquid adhesive, which gives us a little bit of playtime and the ability to maneuver it and center it if we need to. We do want to burnish that down really quick, and immediately we want to remove our temporary tape and open up our curtains. just in case any adhesive has oozed out, we do not want to actually damage or adhere the other pieces, the other panels from our curtain down. In step 11, we are going to work on the tabs. We are going to pencil mark the center of our curtains, which is at 2 1/16. Now, as we get ready to adhere our tabs, it is important to remember that we do not want to go too far out. We want to go right to where that little hump is on the tab itself. We're going to adhere first the front, then we're going to flip it over and we're going to adhere the back. We're going to do this for both the left and the right hand side. Once again, looking not only for our center, but also making sure that we are not coming too far out past that hump on either side. In step 12, we are going to be putting on the stage stoppers. So we are going to bring back our stage. We're going to slide it on the left-hand side of our card or of our curtains. We're going to bring back the stage stoppers. Those are those 4 little scrap pieces of paper. We're going to glue one of them to the very edge of our stage. Then we're going to flip it over to the back. We are going to glue the second piece on the backhand side of that, and that will actually sandwich the stage in between the 2 pieces of paper. We are going to then insert the right hand side of our stage through our curtain, and we're going to repeat the exact same process, once again adhering our stage stopper right to the very edge of our stage, and then adhering the other piece on the back side and sandwiching the stage in between the 2 pieces. Now for now, I know it's going to look like we have a whole lot of extra, and that is perfectly fine. We do want to have extra just in case. We are going to then grab our scissors and we're going to trim off any excess that we have. Now making sure that we do not have anything that protrudes from the bottom, but also making sure that we have enough to that it actually stops our stage from sliding through our slits. In step 13, we're going to be working on the curtain brackets. We are going to bring back our front panel. We are going to grab the brackets and fold them about 1/4 of an inch in, and we're going to adhere that down. We need to make sure that everything that we do in this step is very well adhered, because we don't need anything catching. Now, if you need to burnish it down, make sure that you do that as well, just to have really good adhesion. We're going to bring the other side of that bracket up, and we're going to fold it right at that edge of the top of the card. Now, we want to adhere so that we get a little belly. See that little bit of a slack that we have there? We need that slack in order for the curtains to be able to move through. So make sure you have a little bit of a belly on both sides. We're going to repeat the exact same steps once again for the other side, making sure that we have plenty of slack so that we can slide those curtains through. Our final step is step 14. we are going to be applying our curtain stoppers. We're going to bring back our front, and we're going to slide our curtains just like putting on a shirt, like you're actually putting your arms through either sleeve. We're going to do that on the left and on the right hand side. We now have a fully collapsible stage card. However, there is one problem. These cards always tend to want to slide out from either the left or the right hand side. Even with the tabs, they tend to kind of go that way, and then it just becomes a really hard thing to kind of put together. And I figured, there's got to be a way to fix this. So we've actually improved on it. We're going to be adding our curtain stoppers. We are going to bring the curtain stoppers about 1/8 of an inch from the crease line. I'm going to flip it over on this side so you guys can see it a little bit better. We're going to apply adhesive to one end, only on the very edge of it. And again, bring it up to that 1/8 mark away from the crease line, as you can see here. When gluing the curtain stoppers, we want to keep an eye out on the tab because we want to kind of be in the center of the tab as well. Now we're going to glue the other side of the curtain stopper to the very, very edge of the tab, the very edge only. If we actually glue it too far in, it is actually going to prevent our curtains and the mechanism from actually being able to freely slide back and forth. Anything that is extra past the tab, we can go ahead and snip off at this point. Now, when we are done, the mechanism is going to look like a cross or a lowercase t, and it's going to help us to be able to slide our curtains back and forth without them ever coming off of the rails. We are going to repeat the exact same process on the other side as well. And we now have a fully functioning, fully collapsible, beautiful, improved stage card. It has all the beauties of being able to fold flat and travel in the mail, yet it has lots of layering and a unique 3D tunnel effect. Even better yet is the fact that it can also be just kept upright, just like this, on your desk, on your mantelpiece, on your loved one's bookcase once you gift it. And then of course you can write a sentiment on the back, and you also have the two sides of the curtains where you could actually insert pictures, images, sentiments, or maybe a couple of gift cards. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I hope you will give it a try. If you have enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a comment. Also to give us a thumbs up. We so appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much for joining us today at Spectrum Art Creations. We hope you have a fantastic, blessed, and creative day.